If you do not have a trust and you have out-of-state real estate, you're going to have to open at least two probates. So let's say that you have a will but no trust. You say you own property here in Illinois, and then you also own a place down in Naples, Florida. Everybody wants to have a condo in Naples, Florida now. They must all be in the same building. So that's the way it's been going. So let's say say here in Park Ridge. Say you have a house here in Park Ridge, and then you got your condo in Naples, Florida, and you do not have a trust. When you go, there'll have to be a probate opened in Illinois in Cook County. It'll take a year. In the Cook County probate process costs thousands of dollars, takes a year. And over in Florida, so maybe you have a will over here in Illinois, but you have Florida real estate. Florida is going to require you to open a probate in Florida. And Florida is a state that does not allow you to have an out-of-state executor. So you're going to have to use a Florida resident to be the executor down in Naples, Florida, or somewhere. You have to be a Florida resident, and that's going to all be handled in whatever the heck county that is. So if you have a trust, that's all avoided. If you have a trust, you have a successor trustee, and they can handle both pieces of real estate. But when you have property in multiple states and you just have a will, you're going to have multiple probates open. And some states like Florida will not allow a foreign executor, meaning they can't be anybody other than a Florida resident. So if you had that situation where you had just a will and you live up here, you got the property over in Florida, if you don't have a Florida resident who can act as the executor, then you're going to have to hire one, the estate will. So there are lots of ways that we think we're being clever by maybe not spending money on a trust. I'm not an attorney. I don't sell trusts. We do work with law firms for our clients that we connect the dots with the law firm and with yourself and kind of act as the translator and make sure your socks match. But if you think that maybe you'll just figure this out later, you probably ought to figure out sooner than later. And so a will doesn't give you asset protection while you're living, doesn't give you privacy, and when you pass, you leave a big mess behind. We have a client that just passed away at 93 years of age. She lives in Mount Prospect, and she had her trust all buttoned up. So one of her kids, her daughter, was the successor trustee. So she was still, the mom, the 93-year-old mom that passed away, she was still in control of everything while she was living, but she named a successor trustee to take over her daughter, one of her daughters, when she passed. And then so all her daughter has to do as executor, she doesn't have to go do the probate process. She just has the trust, and she can just start cutting checks and sorting the affairs out. So there's a big back-end savings when you have a trust in time and in money. So that's something that you might want to consider.